All right, I guess I'm live. What's up, everybody? See people already piling in. Thank you very much. Leaving comments. I will get to all of those questions as well. Cheers. First drink of the night here. A little bit of a nightcap. It's been a bit crazy. Sorry for the late start. The dog that you might have seen pop up on Aaron Bronstedter's preview show earlier was raging havoc here. So as I wait for people to pile in, just to share this quick little story, I actually woke up with my dogs, both my dogs, locked in the studio room here. My dog, it's almost like reaching 100 pounds now at like 7 or 8 months, is figured out how to open doors, which is problematic in its own right. But now she's figured out how to lock herself into doors too. So that was fun. After that, went right to getting my ass kicked in my closed quarantine group, jiu-jitsu group. Got my ass kicked tonight for picks. Of course, we're here talking UFC 252, folks. Thank you for joining me. This is Dan Tom, analyst whose work you can find over at Line Movement and MMAJunkie.com, and as well as a host on the Protect Your Neck podcast, hosted by MixedMartialAnalyst.com. We'll have an audio version up there, probably up tomorrow, Sunday. We're just going to go through recap results from top to bottom, kind of like how I break down the shows on the breakdown editions. Not going to try to take your time. I'm actually really good on these, keeping it like a half hour or under. If you guys want to take it more, it'll be up to you. Depends on how many people pile in. I usually don't get too high a traffic, as you can see by my wicked high subscriber count. But thank those of you that are here and have hit the subscribe button. E. Alvarez says, sad to see DC not take the W and strap tonight. Thoughts on him ever coming back? Also, do you see Conor coming back and fighting one more time in 2020? I think you actually asked this on Twitter as well, sir. And I was going to tie the answer for the Conor McGregor question in with I haven't even had any of my nightcap. I need water right now, to be honest. With John Jones' thoughts as far as the, Johnny Bonnie Jones as he, pops in the chat there. But I was going to tie it in with John Jones' thoughts because it's kind of the same answer for Jones and Conor McGregor. They're in that list where maybe it's because, contrarian, which bites me in the butt more often than not. We'll talk about that tonight. Maybe it's because I'm a contrarian though. But I just don't get excited for these fights until they're signed because for Conor's part of it, hashtag MMA retirements. And in the same spirit of hashtag MMA retirements, hashtag heavyweight for John Jones, which I'm still not a believer in. I've been calling for it, wanting it forever. I don't think he wants it. I think at this point, it's a negotiating tool and a businessing tool, a back pocket surprise, so to speak, something you keep in your back pocket. Well worth it. He deserves it. Good on him. It's his decision to make. I'm not hating. It's just what it is. I don't think he's interested really in a heavyweight fight. We would have seen him gone up. Lesser skilled, lesser athletic men and women, for that matter, have ventured up and out of their weight classes against daunting threats. So why bother speculating any harder than you need to? Again, he's still one of the pound for pound, best or light heavyweight best, or whatever you want to say. I'm not trying to hate on Jones, but I'll believe it when I see it. And same with Conor coming out of retirement to fight in 2020. And it's all the more trickier with the whole pandemic era and yada yada. So sorry that's not much of an answer, Alvarez, but maybe it's because especially maybe my colleagues feel this way. There's so many Conor McGregor assignments, or you got to write about the hot names, right? SEO and traffic, and it's like we see enough of these. You hardcores are sick of seeing us media or just seeing it in your timelines. Like, hey, doesn't mean we're not sick of it either, for what that's worth. So bonuses. I was trying to look at that, Johnny Bones. I saw that fight of the night. Actually went to the first fight, which we'll probably get to last, but I might as well touch on it now because I don't really have much to say. I was kind of eating it in transition, so you guys saw me not really tweeting or scoring for most of the night, but for those early fights, I was watching that, though. It was a really fun technical fight. I'm really glad when the prelims get bonuses in general, for whatever that's worth. Johnny Boney Jones, they're asking. Johnny Bonnie Jones. Because it's life-changing money. It really is. These guys should be getting paid more, obviously. I hate the win-win structure. It's dumb. It hinders perhaps more 10-10 scorecards. And maybe that's why we're seeing judges overcorrect with 10-8s. I was seeing I don't want to misquote someone, and I can't even quote them because it's a kind of a confidential conversation, but was speaking with an MMA judge. It was earlier today, maybe last night, about, discussions on 10-8s and 10-10s. And essentially, I mean, obviously, we see and will see more 10-8s given trends and how things are scored. But I'm of the opinion, and I know Brad Taschuk, who commented in here, I'll get to what he said. He's a 10-10 guy as well. Like, I like to see him more. There could have been some rounds as we get to breaking down from top to bottom UFC 252 between Stipe Miocic and DC that could have maybe been a 10-10, rounds 4 or rounds 5, depending on how you're looking at it. But with the pay structure, it's like, ugh. So anyways, I like seeing the bonuses go to prelim fighters. I've always been really strong on that. I hate when they go to the main event fighters, even though it's kind of different these days. Main event fighters aren't exactly main event fighters getting the main event treatment, if you know what I'm saying, these days. But you know what I'm saying? Just the lower pay guys, man, and gals, they really need the money. So if somebody wants to save me looking and making it a disjointed podcast, you could tell me who got the performance bonuses. I'll touch on those as we get to it. Brad Taschuk says big fights don't feel like big fights in the Apex. Yeah, kind of touching on that fight before, even like main events and headlines, right? Like, I forget, someone said it before where like there were certain fights where it really was missing that feel. And yeah, I want to say tonight was a good example of that, Brad, but then again, there was also like a lot of slow and weird results, which we'll get to as well. So did that contribute to it? I mean, it certainly did, but I guess what I'm asking is how much did that really contribute to it? So, all right, let me see. Oh, let me share this. I don't even know if I shared this yet. I am so bad at this. Yeah, no, I didn't. I tweet that out now. I had it really queued up, but I forget things as I take my first drink, believe it or not. What the fuck's wrong with me? How hard did I get beat up tonight? Not as hard as a lot of the fighters. Boy, you really get rewarded for sticking around, don't you? Like, I love Dominic Cruz, but he was like, boy, this was inspiring. Look at DC. He's 40. And then, like, Rogan was just like, and like, what do you want next for DC? He was like, I just don't want DC, to take any more he wants to say to take damage, but then he kind of realized DC like was super fucked up and had an ID formed, and hopefully, who knows what's going on with his vision right now. And he's like, I hope he doesn't take any more damage. Like, I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, this is bad, man. Like, you stick around and, again, even if you're a good athlete and a company man and you get your way or the fights you want, for those hating on DC, it doesn't matter, man. For what it's worth, DC's going to get his too. It's a game where it's life, man. It's not fair in there. And it's tough, doesn't it? Just watching the same thing happen over and over again. So that was just a really tough way to see DC go out. That being said, I picked Miocic to win. Not by decision, although I did say in the Protect Your Neck podcast, I just sprinkled a couple bucks and some draws tonight, 3 fights, and the main event was one of them. And I don't think Phil McKenzie, shout out to the Heavy Hands podcast, predicted a draw, but I remember seeing him tweet something like, this is the stupidest outcome. The stupidest outcome is the most likely outcome for Miocic and Cormier 3. And for me, right off the bat, I was like, draw. And I kind of explained that on the podcast. And for a second there, could have looked like it until, of course, we heard the 49-46s, which I didn't agree with, but like, I'm not hating that fight. Really could have gone either way. Maybe it'll be more clear once I watch it again. So don't go at me too hard, folks. If you're like hardcore DC1 or hardcore Stipe 1, not hardcore either way, folks. Yeah, we'll see what happens with that next one. Co-main event, O'Malley got defeated by Avera. Man, playing against the public and being contrarian again, it's been kicking me in the butt lately. It's not been good. Be better off just going with the flow, playing some chalk. Although it wasn't chalk that came through, it was actually the popular dog pick that came through. So, congrats to you if you cash that. No ill will there. Much love. Was hoping for Vera to do well. I just felt like, O'Malley was going to have his range and be able to do his thing. And let's be honest, it looked like it. Granted, Vera, to his own admission, was actually going to sit back for the first round and kind of read, which I'm sure we all would have interpreted as, oh, another slow start by Vera. And who knows, he may have still won, right, even without the injury. So let's be careful to not take away from Vera as we talk about O'Malley's injury. And it's unfortunate, especially if it's the same one, because that means, perhaps a premature career. Although for me, it's more just, me, guys, I'm a big person, like, whether it's your body getting broken down by body shots or natural order of things, weight cuts kind of exacerbate those conditions. So kind of like I've been saying with guys like Montel Jordan and Andre Uhl, who, in my opinion, should have been fighting up at featherweight a few fights ago. Perhaps we can add O'Malley to that list once he does get healthy. Maybe we would rather just see him come back at 45, see him go through a camp there, how he feels. But I don't want to talk too much about O'Malley because, one, we don't know what's going on with him. And two, I feel like just the way things naturally go, and I'm already seeing it, my colleagues are already going to be speaking a lot about O'Malley. And it's going to, even if it's not anyone's intention, it's going to look like it's taking away from Vera, which is going to piss off the MMA fans and da-da-da-da and that whole deal, right? So I'm just going to try my best to give credit to Vera, who my co-host Dan on the Line Movement MMA Betting Podcast. Thank you guys for checking that out. I think it's coming to Apple Podcasts, so it won't be just on YouTube. But go ahead and subscribe to their channel as well, Line Movement. But, like he was saying, he always credits Chito Vera as like the most improved fighter. And really, say what you will about the injury again, but you look at, you take a step back and look at Marlon Vera's record, kind of where he came from. It's a strong and correct statement. So, props to Vera, man. No problem being wrong on that pick. Although, oh my gosh, what was my total in picks? I got washed 5 and 6 in picks overall, and then 0-2 in plays, because really, what was on the Protect Connect podcast wasn't really too different than what I touched on and officially played in my Line Movement MMA betting article. So, yeah, I got washed. Or shout outs to speaking of Brad in the chat there, shout outs to Wesley Colvin. I got washed 2 weeks in a row now, man. Woo. To hell. And hopefully both guys bounce back, and stoked to see where Vera goes. All right, next fight was Rosenstruck. Rosenstruck. Shouldn't have gone against my brother from the tribe. Against JDS, who was actually fighting smart for JDS. He was changing things up with somewhat variety. He looked a little more cleaner and less disjointed. Tried, albeit was still throwing things blatantly, one shot nakedly, which is kind of, I guess, in JDS's nature. But for JDS standards and heavyweight standards, I would say he was looking, pretty decent in the first round, at least enough to win it. And all of a sudden, Rosenstruck remembered to pressure, and as soon as he turned it up, what came out? Your built-in habits always kind of come out, right? That's why they say it's important, if you're doing like shadow boxing drills at the end of sparring, or bag work at the end of classes and or sparring, or classes that involve sparring. You'll often hear coaches say, make sure your technique's up, even if it's just a class and, you're in with like people who have like day jobs and 9-to-5s, you know what I'm saying? But you're still going to hear that because it's really important, because God forbid you are in a fight or in a competition and it's going late. How you naturally work the bag or shadow box, you might think it's just, BS. You're having fun playing music, but like all that stuff's going to come out. And as much as Junior Dos Santos tried to build on in this most recent iteration of American Top Team, as soon as he got pressured, the old habits came right back out, and he's backing up to the cage, which is what got DC initially hurt. Real classic, granted he was facing a fellow JDS opponent in Miocic, but real classic JDS there, just backing up along the cage, and got smashed for it. So good on Rosenstruck, man. JDS landed some decent shots. I know his power doesn't seem as emphatic as it is lately, but he landed enough to where even when JDS won the first round, I was in no way feeling good about my pick still, because I'm like, well, if his chin was kind of touched, he would have at least maybe been wobbled by the shots. Or not touched, but not recovered from the 3-month span of an Ngannou KO, but it did not. E. Alvarez, does Sean losing tonight impact his hype train? Does Cheeto get the same momentum Sean was getting? Dude, those are both unfair and unfortunate. Like I said, no matter how it was going to go, if Sean loses, no matter how it's going to lose, the hype train, and he's going to get memed out. And he's got it coming, man. He talked a lot of crap, and I don't feel bad for him. I'm not saying you should. Don't get it twisted. I'm just saying that's just how it is. You got to do these things to get noticed, and when you fall hard. And on the flip side, what really the thing that sucks most about it is no to your question. I do not believe Cheeto is going to get the same momentum Sean was getting. He will have it personally, I hope. I hope he channels that into wins. But as far as promotion goes, I don't know. I feel like we're backlogged and log jammed, or they're going to throw him a very difficult match to maybe keep him busy and keep, for example, Merab busy, because Aljo keeps getting, jerked over, delayed, or it feels like at least, right, for his title shot, and Merab and Aljo can't meet. So right now, that was another thing about, we'll get to that, but now we're going to probably see Merab kill off contenders in the meantime until Aljo gets his title shot sorted. A-Bomb, does Stipe have a bigger he survived DC's power. I really got to revert all hog analysis to, again, the previously mentioned Wesley Coven and the MMA analysis. I got to give credit where credit's due, folks. And I am not an expert on that, but yeah, man, I think I got to imagine hearing some points. I don't have a power rankings per se, but yeah, Stipe's up there. Steve Gregory. What's up, Steve? Stipe turned DC into Forrest Whitaker. Speaking of hogs, and maybe because I am having a drink, and this is the Afterparty Edition. I had a friend, Eric, who I will save his last name. Oh, Jesus. I don't even know if I want to share this. What was that film where it was like Forrest Whitaker, like he witnesses the murder on the camcorder, and it was really awkward, like look to Forrest Whitaker, and he was like, and it was just a really funny preview because it'd always go to Forrest Whitaker. Yeah, DC got Forrest Whitaker. God damn, I love Forrest Whitaker too, man. Platoon, Fast Times. Oh, geez. Oh, my God. You guys are killing me. I love it. Brad Tashik, I hear you, brother. Hit some big dogs and still wasn't a good night tonight. Hey, yeah, congrats, on those of you that were able to hit and make it out. I honestly got, like, washed on every level. I'm not sure there was – I cashed a couple, like, bets early, like some D-Gen last-minute stuff, but nothing I can bump my chest on. But, yeah, man, it was a rough one. But – bets aside, like speaking fairly and critically and from an entertainment level, back to the previous point you made, Brad. He had the big fights, and a lot of these fights don't feel the same. And again, credit to these fighters, man. Let's remember that, folks. Let's remember to not put the criticism toward the fighters. They're having to show up on a really short notice, make weight. Like the guys who got fight of the night. Like a lot of these fights were booked within 2 weeks. Like the bookings may have came out like a week or a week and a half, and sure, a lot of these fighters may have had a week or so or 2 weeks at least to prepare, maybe not for the specific opponent, but the asks that they're being asked to do on top of the big asks that are already slanted not in their favor is crazy. So good bets, bad bets, good nights, bad nights, good beats, bad beats, judges or promotional things. They're all fine. Point to them, criticize them. Fair is fair, but I'm trying to do my best. I freaking call them grading the winners. I'm trying to grade with the curve. Let's all grade with the curve when it comes to the fighters, at least. A-Bomb, LOL, just playing. Well, you got an answer anyways, A-Bomb. All right, you got me on video here talking about DC and Stipe's hog. So, MMA True Fan, what's up, guys? It's cleaning up in here, folks. MMA True Fan, they do some great work. Make sure you're following them and their documentaries that they release. Great point about the late notice for a lot of these fighters. Yeah, it's not fun, man. And then they're only getting half their checks. When and then these judges are the ones deciding it. But yeah. So it's Vatitis. So not to get too real, folks. I know I can do that sometimes, trying to keep it fun, which is why I appreciate the hog analysis questions, although this isn't that show, but I'm not hating. All right. Wow. Yeah. Let's go. Daniel Pineda defeated Herbert Burns. I think that was a big dog that Brad was talking about. And I saw some other people that were really sharp on that as well. I want to say maybe Gabe or I don't know. I saw a couple people on my timeline though, and feel free to hit it up in the chat. I will give you your proper due daps. But yeah, I thought Herbert Burns was more of a possible, parlay piece, looking at things over the top. And I've seen Pineda, and I went back to watch Pineda, but it just maybe it would, I don't want to say it was underestimating, I mean, let's be honest. Pineda came in, from a no contest. I don't want to underestimate his health status because, the guy's really skillful. But, I mean, obviously I knew he was more skillful than Derek Minner. But Derek Minner also specializes in guillotines, scrambles, and back takes. And I was like, oh, we saw Herbert pass this test. He'll pass it again with a guy on short notice. This is a quick turnaround for Herbert. He's fine. He didn't take any damage in the Dunham fight. And like the commentary was pointing out after, and then he comes in and misses weight. He looks like definitely like off from the body. Who knows what was going on. Taking nothing away from Pineda's win, by the way. Just saying, at that point you already knew, like, so hopefully if you didn't already put some gas on that chalk, you took the gas off. Because I know that kind of scared me. I believe Jedi Goodman tweeted it was like 7-12 overall, I want to say, for fighters that miss weight this year. I know last year they were winning really well, but the fighters this year, 7-12, they're losing. Favorites, I believe, are like 5-6 or 5-5, so they're only winning half the time. And the underdogs are at like some type of like, I don't know, even worse kind of worse slant as far as that goes. So not good if you're missing weight, but take nothing away from Pineda. He was a dog. He knew when to relax, keep his cool, and when to work, when to hustle. And Herbert got to some good control positions, but he just didn't have it in him for the second and third dogfight in each round. And it caught up to him by the second, and he just got mad. He's BJ Penn too, right? It was a good stoppage. I mean, the ref gave him every chance. So no issues there. Congrats to Pineda and everybody who cashed that one. What's next for Herbert Burns? Every time I see Herbert, I think of the guy from Family Guy. I can't do my highs because my voice is toast, as you guys can tell. So I have another drink and do another show because that's smart, Dan. But hopefully he's not harassing newspaper boys and he's taking a break. Jesus Christ. Where's that going? I mean, he's got time. Herbert's young. He's around a good camp. So more time hanging out around the gym is just going to do him well. A-Bomb. How do you see Stipe Ngannou 2 going? Wow. So I picked Ngannou the first time. And then, you get that wrong and have to hear about wrestling and Stipe. How could you? So part of that's going to be in the back of my head. And I'm like going to pick maybe I just roll Stipe again because I rarely pick Stipe. And I thought that because I was picking him this time, it meant that he was probably going to lose. That wasn't my intention, by the way. I picked him honestly because I just thought he was going to win, but just in the back of my head. So with that already spinning myself in a circle pointlessly, like I just did, it really is going to depend on his wrestling, I'm probably going to maybe I don't do it as often as I probably should, to be honest. But for a better answer on that, or you'll probably have to see my analysis come closer to fight time and I'm not doing that as a cheap plug. It's because I actually would, what I just preluded to, actually probably would ask some people close to the Ngannou situation what's really going down with the wrestling, because that's really what it comes down to, right? Stipe's head movement looked even better tonight, or showed that it's like it's there sometimes and sometimes it's not with Stipe, it feels like. And the dude's got a big head to move. I've got a giant head. I ain't hating, believe me. I'm just saying sometimes he moves his head and sometimes he doesn't. And tonight was probably one of Stipe and for heavyweight again, folks. Temper it. But yeah, I think it was one of his better head movement performances for sure. So that kind of makes me lean towards Stipe off initial lean. Interested to see the line though. That's what interests me. MMA true fan. Hughes Pen 2. Love it. Yeah, you love the old school references. You know what's up. Marcus Scott. What's next for O'Malley? Yeah, rest, man. Rest. Rest and hopefully 145 is what my answer was. Why didn't DC wrestle more? You know, with his eye, you think he would have went into that gear more, right? But I think you know, and it's weird too because Stipe went for a guillotine, which was really weird. Like to me, it was almost like a panic. Like I didn't want to get lifted up, so I got to drop my base down. And he almost dropped his base 2 down. He's like, "Well, I got a neck. Let's just hang on to a neck and scramble and see what happens." And it felt real panicky. So to me, that in my mind, obviously, I'm not a fighter. I wasn't in there, but in my mind, you think that would have gotten DC's confidence to wrestle more. Like, oh, I could take it to him. And but in DC's defense, he was countered a lot by the adjustments from Stipe that Stipe made that I tweeted about, which was, you know, really nice. You know, he was pushing in and re-wrestling instead of, you know, falling out and getting hit from the right hand out of the clinch, or he was keeping the frame on the far power side of Cormier and exiting to the weak side and making sure the exit to the weak side. You heard Stipe's corner. Which side are we going? Where are we going? Where are we going? They were going weak side, or they were driving in, which was really smart. But you know, even that adjustment like took a couple rounds to come. You know, Conor Rebush was saying, you know, Stipe went to the body early but forgot late. It's opposite the last heavyweight fight, man. I mean, it just goes to show everything was backwards, you know, as far as sample size goes. Brad Dashchuk, what organizations are Dodson and the Georgian snooze machine going to fight in next, since the UFC cut them both after that dreadful fight? Yeah, first of all, I got to take my licks on that Dotson fight. That's I think that's the next fight anyways as we jump down, right? Yeah. So Rob Dvalishvili defeats John Dotson by unanimous decision. So I was wrong, and props to Marab, man. And I love his team. And I do like Marab, actually, believe it or not. I love his character as well. He's totally that hyperactive kid that, like, you know, it's a reason why, you know, you're like, Marab is, even though he looks like he's older than me, much less my age, he's actually younger. But Marab is like the reason why kids in the 90s were like 90% of them were misdiagnosed with Ritalin. It's because there were kids like Marab who actually needed it. And but so I like Marab. But that Dodson fight, man, oh my God, why did I pick Dodson? Like, I'm not gonna pretend to be upset even about his low pace, because if you listen to my breakdowns, it's something I've been complaining about for John Dodson and picking against him for that reason for years. So that's also why I thought maybe that this pick was good, because I'm like, I never like or pick or much less play John Dodson, but this just kind of, it made sense. You could really make the argument, eventually no style is impervious. The control, the lack of control, and the lack of discipline. It is still gonna burn Marab. But to Marab's credit, he actually fought more disciplined. Now it made for more of a less appealing fight, but there is a counter argument to, I think it might have been Conor Rebush again, if I'm citing the tweet correctly. Again, I just want to give credit where credit's due. So forgive me if it wasn't, but I believe it was him that compared it to Volkanovski, where, even though he wasn't doing as high quality feinting as Volkanovski, just the spirit of what he was doing and kind of building late, using those early clinch ups and scoring, and he almost was point fighting at a certain point. It's not something you would suspect Marab to do. So from that point, like, grats to you. But yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, Brad, and I saw a lot of it on my timeline. You weren't alone. You're not crazy. It was not a enthralling fight. I don't think anybody could say that. We had to see some good counter wrestling, so hopefully at least Ed Gallo is happy. Shout out to Ed and the fight site over there. That article actually came out on Bloody Elbow, but regardless, shout out to all them anyways. So we had to see some of that, but yeah, man, it was just, did Dotson take a low blow? I think he escaped that fate, but he got the classic frustrating decision. Although it was a clear decision, Dotson was acting like he was surprised by it. Like, so yeah, that was really rough. Billy 24/7 just stopping in to say, what's up, brother? Headed to bed and we'll watch this one in the morning. Good night, Billy. And appreciate the rest of you guys stopping in as well as we push through the rest of these results. Some water here. But yeah, I think kind of like what I touched on earlier. I don't know or really care what's next for Dotson. No offense. And for Merab, I think he's just going to be that attraction for them. And with Aljo, especially with Aljo, in my opinion, being the worst matchup for a lot of guys, perhaps like a Peter Yan, he could end up just, killing off contenders, which sucks. So that's kind of the more bum out for me. But hey, Merab needs some time to develop still, despite the excitement for him. Oh man, this one really bummed me out. I think this one would have just tainted my mood no matter how the plays went. Even if I would have hit the rest of my picks and plays, Jim Miller losing always bums me out. Even when I pick him to lose and he still loses and it bums me out, man. But Vince Pichel dogs out a decision. Yeah, man, just kind of got back to his grinding roots, and he kind of needed to. It was just the classic where Jim Miller gets beat. Commentary was surprised that he went to grapple, but it was actually a smart move because at least grappling in the second round when Jim was more tired, that is, because the first round, Jim could strike and win that kind of a fight, like I was saying on the podcast and on the breakdown, and either make Vince shoot or maybe even cruise himself to a decision. But he lost some key moments in the second round. Obviously the third. And yeah, man, that was rough. But good on Vince Pichel, especially after a hip surgery. I mean, another reason, that I couldn't help but fade once I saw Jim go from minus 180 all the way to plus 115. But good on Vince, man, and hopefully they give Jim, some nice matchups from here on out. Let's just say that he's earned them. He's earned them. What's the next fight? Verna Jenny Jaroba. Wow, she cut through Felice Herrig fast. That parlay piece came through. I'm glad I didn't play the over because Verna was kind of one of the only parlay pieces, in my opinion, worth considering. So congrats on you that he hit that. I ain't hitting on you chalk. I ain't hating on you chalk players, I should say. So congrats on anybody who is cashing that chalk. I should have been playing chalk the last two cards with you. So who am I to hate? Who am I? But MMA True Fan, is Vera a legit contender, or should he cash in and go to Bellator while his stock is up? I was just thinking about Curtis Blades. I could see him going to Bellator the way certain things are playing out. I was seeing what the Corey Anderson move, but I don't think Vera fits that. Vera still has I think he does commentary stuff with them for the South American broadcasts. He's got a lot of, I don't know if he still has the Pepsi sponsorship in Ecuador or whatnot, but he's got ties to a lot of sponsorships through the UFC. I don't know how much it's through the UFC, but you know what I'm saying? He's got a good relationship with them that seems to be paying off. They did give him the O'Malley fight, right? And look at him. He shines through. And hopefully this COVID stuff doesn't last forever. And when UFC gets back to their global expansion, I would say content filling ways. They're still filling content. Wow. But I think he's a really, important piece for that market. So I don't think he goes to Bellator. Stevie Gregory, I know a website that'll pay hair. Oh my God. I know where this is going. A lot more than the UFC to film her tapping out. Hook me up with her manager again. actually know her manager, Steve, but I know where you're going there. Well, I'm sure they all are aware of that. Stipe is drunk. Yeah. Mansolet, I'll be joining him soon, maybe. Yeah. All right. Next fight. Not much to say about that. Yeah, Felice. Yeah. Hopefully she doesn't have to go that way. I'm a fan of Felice, by the way. Cammy from Street Fighter, right? Who doesn't like her? Jesus, Dan, you're living in the past. But good on Verna and her Peter Pan Robin Hood. She looks like Robin Hood. I don't know what that is. Someone can explain that to me. Is that like a South American thing? Is that I don't know. I just feel like she should come out with the whole getup, like do just like a Robin Hood Men in Tights. We are men. Sorry. That wouldn't be appropriate, I know. Sorry. Dan, stop living in the 90s. All right. Danny Chavez jumped off the Rainbow Six counterterrorism team and took out TJ Downtown Brown, who I think there was a beer called Downtown Brown. I wonder if he got his name off of that by unanimous decision. This was on my avoid list. I'm glad I didn't have more time to study this because I was actually favoring a play on TJ Brown. But I think the line actually only went up, I want to say. So congrats on people who hit that dog play on Danny Chavez. I got to tell you, I don't know who it was. Someone was like, what's the worst way to lose a bet? Like knockout or having them stopped like really fast, having them wrestled, which I used to think was the worst when you're just watching someone get wrestled. And I'm like, why didn't I see this coming? And it's slow and painful, like worst ways to lose a bet. I think we have a new worst way. I think the worst way to lose a bet for me would be watching calf kicks. Sorry, the dogs are barking. Is calf kicks. Because it's like you don't even get time to, it's not even like a quick knockout where it's like, oh, you didn't have time to get going, or a slow decision where they get grinded out. And it's just like, oh, how did I not read this? Like when your fighter gets low calf kick is a special kind of hell, and it hurts them early in the fight. It's a special kind of hell where you're like, oh, great. Oh, great. Now, because your read could have been 100% on, and credit to the calf kick. I'm not hating. Just like the oblique kick, even though I hate on the oblique kick, I'm not trying to say it should be illegal. I'm just saying it's a crappy move. But that's just a crappy way to lose a bet, or a fight, I imagine too, right? Being in there and just having your calf just debilitated. And credit to TJ Brown though, because he went and tried to fight every adjustment from every stance. He went for it. He was shifting. He was wrestling the best he could. I know I saw people that probably did bet him where it's like, why didn't he wrestle more? And he did try to wrestle. It's just Chavez had good takedown defense. So that was kind of, that. And, the counters and, who knows, but you got to give Chavez credit, his camp, I was going to say comes from MMA Masters. And usually I kind of give them a knock because, they got the good capoeira coach, they've got the good jiu-jitsu coach, but like their overall process from that camp seems kind of shoddy to me at times. But hey, man, cash is a dog tonight, so good on you, Chavez. Next result, let's push through here. Lavina Souza defeats Ashley Oder by unanimous decision. Probably closer than it needed to be, or closer than I thought. But congrats to Ashley Yoder. Her striking looked way better. Like since that Amanda Marco fight, where she was like trying to get outside foot position and like running herself into the cage, like she was actually seeming well balanced, picking and prodding. But Souza would go for a late takedown. Every time she would throw a leg kick, Yoder's leg would go in the air. And like I said, Yoder always gets hit to that side, plus in that open stance matchup. And limited as Lavina is, she throws that right hand really hard and, was able to sway the judges. So I don't know about the 30-27, but I mean, MMA judging, Congrats to my dude. He actually gave me his real name, but he doesn't put it out there for reasons. So I'm just going to keep calling him Bill. I know his real name, so I know he hopefully won't take offense to that. But I'm glad I went through did the analysis, and I'm glad the analysis hit because your boy showed me his betting slip, and I ain't placing bets that big, so good on you, Bill. Fuck yeah. I'm happy for winners. I ain't hating, man. So that I felt good. I felt good. I couldn't win tonight, but I felt good helping others win. And if I can do that, cheers to y'all. Chris Dawkins defeated Parker Porter by TKO punches. Not much to say there. Dawkins looks like he is actively trying to trim down. We'll see. Watch his progression. Kai Kamaka got a decision over Tony Kelly. I don't know if that could have gone either way. I wasn't watching close enough to score, but from when I was watching, I'm a big fan of bodywork, big fan of Hawaiians too, obviously. But obviously putting the bias aside, I thought Tony Kelly was landing some more damaging shots in rounds, maybe 2 or 3 from what I saw, but I'm not a good person to ask about that fight. I was watching very casually, and I enjoyed it, though. A lot of good clinch work, body work, timing, stance switches, knees, check hooks. That won't be a bad one to go watch back. So, all right. Anything else from you guys? Otherwise, I'm going to start to get on out of here. If you want to get any last-minute questions in the chat, really appreciate you guys for joining me. Like the video if you haven't already. Hit the subscribe button. I finally made it over the hump of a measly 200 subscribers. Grateful for all of them, but more wouldn't hurt. So that's the best you can do. Those of you listening on the Protect Your Neck podcast on Apple Podcasts, awesome ratings and reviews. Thank you very much. Appreciate the 5-star ratings and reviews. Those of you who also visit the host site, mixedmartialanalyst.com, use the Amazon, which we're all using a lot, sadly. We're on it. Click-throughs, get a little percentage back at no cost to you. I've been watching you guys click through that, and I really appreciate that. When you give your boys, even though it's bad picks, but just to try to at least help with some analysis to help you all make some money and keep this thing free. The little things from sharing, clicking, coming and hanging out, it really means the world. Really, honestly, thank you guys. You guys fucking rule. Going to get to the last questions before I get out of here. A-Bomb, hell yeah. Manalete 46, keep it up. You are great analytical. Thank you. Appreciate you guys. Yep, I think that's about it. Thank you guys for stopping in. Appreciate you. I know I give a lot of shout outs, but I try to make sure they deserve it. And it doesn't hurt to follow up on these. A lot of these people I shout out have their own podcasts and their own content that's worth checking out.